Looked at CW and then search and rescue volunteer. And then,
I know the guys at hers.
yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, and it was kind of his design and so it was good.
Was it?
The service was at Square, and then there was a great Bavaria. And then we did a lunch at First Christian. And I attended the first two. It was breezy, but it wasn't, and we were sort of on the backside of it. So we were
David?
I think we do it on the during 4, so we do it before the. So.
Okay.
We're good. Good evening and welcome to the May 20th, 2024 regular city council meeting. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Council Member Lowquist.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Beauchamp here, Goodlow here, Lowquist here, Elliott
Here.
Miller
Here.
Palmer
Here.
Thompson.
Okay, item 2A, which is a proclamation, no public comment. Page 6 in the agenda, and this is the Jewish American Heritage Month. And Councilmember Miller.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proclamation is Jewish American Heritage Month 2024. Whereas fleeing oppression from other areas of the world and looking for a place where they could practice their faith and lead their lives freely, the first Jewish immigrants arrived on American soil in 1654 in New Amsterdam. And whereas President George W. Bush issued the first presidential proclamation in 2006, designating May as Jewish American Heritage Month. And whereas bias acts committed toward our Jewish neighbors in this country are becoming the norm, We remember the lessons of the Holocaust and recognize the need to root out prejudice and combat anti-Semitism in this nation. And whereas we recognize Jewish Americans who, in the face of discrimination, sexism, and hard times, made and continue to make significant contributions to our society. Whereas the city of Ellensburg recognizes and honors that the many Jewish Americans in our community who strengthen our medical, educational, business, and religious systems and our civic organizations. Now, therefore, the city of Ellensburg does hereby proclaim May 2024 as Jewish American Heritage Month in Ellensburg and encourages all residents to join in this observance by building bridges of understanding and friendship with our Jewish American neighbors. Signed 20th day, May 2024.
Thank you. Item 2B, which is page 7, is National Public Works Week. Unless somebody object, I will read that one. So whereas Public Works and utilities professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Washington. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works and utility professionals who are engineers, managers, crew members, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, our solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizen. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children of the state of Washington to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest in the understanding and importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, the City Council and the City of Ellensburg do hereby designate the week of May 19 to 25, 2024 as National Public Works Week. We urge all of our citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, maintenance and operations personnel, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. And this was signed today. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 3, which there are no awards and recognitions. So we move to item 4. It's approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Mayor, can I recommend?
We're going to get that.
So I do have a
Second first.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
So, Mr. Mayor, I have a proposed amendment to the agenda that is to move item 8A, which is under public hearings, to follow 9C. So 8A would become the new 9D. This is to accommodate a citizen who would like to speak on this.
So we have a motion.
Second.
So we have a motion second to amend the proposed agenda, moving item 8A to 9D. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We now have an amended agenda. Is there any discussion on the amended agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We have item 5, consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the consent agenda, which is page 9 to 105 in the packet. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Item 6A, page 106 in our packet, is a reappointment for Tylene Carnell to the diversity. Sorry. That has to be on. Sorry. Sorry. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, and there is an opportunity for public comment, but we'll first take care of the staff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. You have before you a recommendation from a subcommittee of the DEI Commission recommending to reappoint Tylene Carnell to the open position on the DEI Commission. And I believe Tylene is in the audience today.
Tylene, did you want to speak or no? Did you want to speak? You don't have to. But you're welcome to.
I'll just say, sorry that the mayor mentioned my name made your alarm go off.
Oh, yeah.
It happens sometimes, I suppose. I just want to say thanks for the opportunity. I've spent 23 years in Ellensburg and I've been engaged in and involved in a lot of different things in town. I do consider myself personally an honor to be a part of the getting the DEI commission off the ground. I think we've kind of started to kind of see what our footing looks like and what our goals and objectives are kind of laying out to be. And I'm excited to kind of see how those take out and be a part of taking it to the next step.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any questions for the applicant or staff before I get public comment? Anybody in the audience here wish to speak on this issue? And nobody online? He's checking. Nope. Okay, so the reappointment is just by consensus or by vote?
By vote.
Okay, can we get a motion?
Move to approve the reappointment of Eileen Cornell to the DEI Commission.
Second.
We have a motion second for reappointment of Tylene Carnell to the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We reach item 7, which is public comment on non-agenda items. A script to read. Okay. Okay, so when recognized, approach the microphone provided on the right side of the room. State your name, whether you live in the city of Ellensburg, Kittitas County, or elsewhere, and whether you're representing yourself and or others. Speakers' comments are limited to 3 minutes. Any written comments that you have, please submit to the city clerk over to my right. Speakers are cautioned not to make comments of a personal, impertinent, or derogatory nature. Speakers may not identify themselves as candidate for elective office or make any statements which assist or discuss the campaign of a candidate for elective office or discuss the campaign for or against a ballot proposition, unless we were talking about that, which would be in a different part of the meeting. And I got one more thing to say. So speakers providing comment on non-agenda items may only address the council on matters which concern the city's business or over which the council has control, and must announce the topic upon which they wish to speak before making their comments. And if for any reason I interrupt you, your time will stop and we will reset as necessary. So on our sign-up sheet, we have Landis Hansen regarding a ceasefire. Yes.
Hello, my name is Jaden Thacker. I am with the Party for Socialism and Liberation and a student at Central. So I'm here to talk about a ceasefire. I just want to personally speak to Delano about the planning for Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom. It doesn't feel right to me to celebrate a holiday that celebrates the resilience of our people and our ancestors' legacies of overcoming and not support a ceasefire. I feel that in not supporting a ceasefire, we do a disservice to that legacy. And I don't see a point in this city celebrating Juneteenth if it is not going to support a ceasefire resolution. I just want to say that our ancestors are looking down at us right now, and it feels to me that you are choosing to turn your back on them. I just want us to do what is right by our ancestors, and that is all.
Thank you. Landis.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Landis. My friends call me Rivka. I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and I'm a Jewish American. As a Jewish American, I'm vehemently opposed to anti-Semitism that we've seen here at this council, where I'm standing. Right, I've heard genocidal comments talking about Jewish Americans here. I've also just faced it out and about in the city. Uncomfortable comments glares, especially when I used to wear my yarmulke. There's a few things that the city could do to lessen anti-Semitism. But I'm going to talk about one, which is calling for a ceasefire. Anti-Semitism goes up in this country when Israel conducts genocidal campaigns on Gaza and the West Bank. It is a frequent occurrence when Palestinians die at the hands of the Jewish state that claims to be doing it in my name. It endangers me here. And so as a Jewish American, I ask the city council to issue a statement for ceasefire. It is a call for freedom. It is a call for liberation that I think that the city council must take. I also want to speak on how the city wants to keep things to matters that the city council has an effect on. In 2020, the city council chose to take action on Black Lives Matter, even though the spark for that movement in 2020, George Floyd was not murdered here in this city, and yet the city still chose to act on it. So why not act on a ceasefire as well? Why have you kicked out myself and Palestinian American woman Layla Taha when they speak about the ceasefire, when they speak about the genocide that's going on? The city does not contain itself to matters just within this town, and instead comments and takes action on a wide array of issues that are necessary for the culture of our city and how we conduct ourselves in the day-to-day. 3 school buses every day full of children are murdered in Gaza. 14,000 children have died in Gaza in the last 7 months. Rich, what if those were your children?
Landis, just keep it
What if it
focused
was
on-
your house?
Keep it.
What if it was your
Landis.
town? What if it was your city?
Landis,
Right?
stop talking.
We demand a ceasefire
I think
resolution now. We demand that you speak about it.
Hello, my name's Karan Samani. I've been a citizen of Ellensburg for about 4 years now. I grew up in the area, and I'm here to talk about a ceasefire in Gaza and in Palestine. As someone that thinks democracy is extremely important, I think that the way our current government is handling the resolution of a ceasefire, as well as the funding of the Israeli military, it just does not represent.
Kurenza, just stay focused on things that the council can do, not what the federal government's doing.
The council, the city of
City of
Ellensburg is funding the genocide by providing $300,000, I have heard, a year. And by calling for a ceasefire in the town, it could have a bigger effect. And even though I personally am not Jewish, the topic of inclusivity and diversity here in a town that is growing due to the fact that it is a college town is extremely important. And as the town grows, I'm noticing that the people that are coming in are the people that would want a ceasefire: students, young people like myself, people that very much wish for a ceasefire to happen, for the city of Ellensburg to stand with the Palestinian people, whether it not be in money, whether it not be by not funding the other side, but by just having a voice in it, in the council as a city. As someone else was saying, as Juneteenth is coming up, it doesn't feel right to be a person here in this town, in this city, who for a long time did not have any kind of voice whatsoever, to not use it to speak about what is currently going on in Gaza and in Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you. Natalie Thornton.
Hello, Council. I'm a student at the university. My name is Natalie Thornton, and I'm here to also ask you to please consider, I'm sorry, a ceasefire and divest from any aid sent to Israel. I'm sure you were all shocked on October 7th, and like any human being would wish to see an end to the atrocities all over the world. I ask you to consider that this was not an issue that began on October 7th, just to name a few. The Balad al-Sheikh village massacre in December 1947, the Deir Yassin village massacre in April 1948, the Khan Yunis camp massacre in November 1956.
Natalie, let's stay focused on what the city can stay focused on, okay?
Okay. Which is all just to say that this is not an issue that had started in October 7th, and this is something that we should not support. These were all massacres committed by Israel. Since October 7th, I've seen children maimed, killed, families, people who had no wish to do anything but live a peaceful life. I've seen bombs,
Yeah, Natalie, let's stay focused on what you want the city to do.
I would like us to please stop sending money to Israel. I learned that we send $300,000 annually to Israel, and we are funding white phosphorus bombs, bombs with blades attached, designed to decapitate and maim people. This is something that we can stop doing because it's reprehensible. And please call for a ceasefire. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm not reading the name right. The last name is Palon. So I'm just real quick, I'm going to respond real quick. And I'm sorry, I can't read the first name very well. We've decided as a council that we will respond when information is out there that, or direct you in the right place. The city of Ellensburg does not provide any direct funding for any international effort. The city collects taxes for local purposes, and that's what the city does. And we spend the money that we collect on local programs. I don't know if that changes anything, but again, our next speaker, last name Palon.
Hi, I'm Aislinn Payton. I'm a 17-year-old. I am an Ellensburg High School student, and I'd like to ask the council or the city of Ellensburg to call for an immediate ceasefire. Every single day, as said before, 3 busloads of Palestinian children are killed by Israel.
Aislinn, just keep it focused on what you want us to do, not what's going on internationally.
Call for a ceasefire because in only 3 days, the equivalent of my entire graduating class is killed. And I just think that we as Ellensburg should stand up for these children and the civilians and show solidarity with Palestine by pressuring the U.S. government to call for an immediate ceasefire. Port Townsend, a city even smaller than Ellensburg, has done this. So I believe that Ellensburg should do this as well to show support. Thank you.
Thank you. J.A. Thomas. Okay. Julie McConaughey.
Hi, my name is Julia McConaughey. I'm a student at Central, and one of the things that has been a privilege to experience in Ellensburg these years that I've spent studying here is the wonderful community there is. And the idea of community is not just limited to one city. We have a responsibility to help out our communities that includes the state, the United States, and the whole world. And I implore you to consider demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. It is so important to use our voices to make change. my conscience tells me it's the right thing to do. And I'm sure your consciences all speak to you on the subject as well. It seems often futile that a small city like Ellensburg could make a change in something that is a global issue, but it is truly one voice on top of many others. And by saying something, we send the message and we can encourage more people to help out as well. It is our responsibility to use our voices to affect this change. And so I implore you to consider demanding a ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Howard resident, current registration, non-voter. I've come to the superior of what artisans claim is that what freezing temperature of water at the 9,470 degrees at the surface continue to the snow level era or victory 14,072, give or take to 1,295 in conditioning of a room this size. That doesn't say anything about what assurance you're guaranteeing people in the $65,000 in continued site applications. Myself identity in providing that oversight to community members is a trademark identity validation form 2Ts. It does have prepares all kinds of other stamps and labels that has come to my direct issued in first or in numerous of the superior in that intelligence affirmation of the affirmative action you provide the equal opportunities in those areas, both the peoples and their descendants.
Thank you. James Patton.
James Payton, Ellensburg resident, here representing myself. First time at a city council meeting, so right on. I would like a park up in the North Water area. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I'd just really like to fly some kites up in that area. Development is happening out there. So once again, a park up in the North Water area. And then number two, something I drive along University, in front of the University, and notice that it goes from 25 miles per hour to 20 through, kind of where Grocery Outlet is, through the University area, and then it goes back up to 25. This does not make any sense to me. No one's really driving 20 on that road except for me, and then I get yelled at by the kids for driving too slow. But when you notice on the side streets of the University, those are all 25 mile per hour. So once again, just two things I'm asking the city council to do. Number one, put a park up in North Water area big enough to where I can fly some kites. And number two, let's change that speed limit up to 25 in front of the University because it doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, that's the extent of the people who signed up. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak about an item not on the agenda? If you could approach and introduce yourself, city, county, other, and speaking for yourself or others. And
good evening, council. My name is David Minear. I am a city resident of the city of Ellensburg, just moved back, born and raised here. I believe there are sufficiently urgent issues for the city council to deal with right here in Ellensburg that do not involve making resolutions on some matter that the city has no effect on. So I would encourage the city council to continue the current policies, allowing comment on issues that affect the city of Ellensburg. Thank you.
thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, so my name is Ben, been a resident here for about 10 years. And I'm speaking on the topic of a ceasefire resolution. So I understand that you guys want to talk about city matters and things that only relate to the city. But the thing is that this city lives, the city exists in the world. We're not just isolated from the rest of the world. Everything that happens outside of Ellensburg has the ability to affect Ellensburg. We talk about, the Zoom bombs that happened in November and I think December, calls for things that I don't want to repeat. They don't happen just because they happen because things are happening around the world that give people the ability to believe that, it's okay to do that. And so I think it's important for Ellensburg City Council to take a stand and to call for a ceasefire resolution. Because by not speaking in some way, you're already giving your answer, and it's one that doesn't support a large portion of our community and a lot of people who would like a ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Actually, yeah.
Hi, my name is Hope Amison. I am a resident of Ellensburg and I am here as a citizen of Ellensburg. And I'm just here because I do support what the students that are present here are doing. At the same time, I have seen what I feel is disrespectful behavior to those students as they're trying to stand up. Half of the city is students, and students are important to our community. We need to show them respect. We need to make sure that their voices are heard. We need to make sure that they feel welcome in the democratic process at every single level, including the local level. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Devora Greenspan. I've lived in Ellensburg for 11 years. I'm glad that the city council passed the proclamation for Jewish Heritage Month. I'm glad that the local focus is what the city council intends. In terms of that issue, there's been Jewish contributions to the local area since the early days. My other issue, staying local, is a four-way stop sign at Reese Creek and Dry Creek. It's just a simple sign. You don't need any new electricity or anything because car lights are very bright. And I ride a bicycle, and a four-way stop sign would help. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, from this point forward, citizen comment will be limited to the agenda items. Catch myself back up here. We move on to what is now item 9A. Second reading of ordinance 4942 regarding electric rates.
Evening, council. I'm Paul Meyer with the City of Ellensburg Light Department. I am here today to discuss the second reading of ordinance 4942, modifying two sections of the city code. The first section of the city code I want to amend is city code section 9.3.100, electric rates paragraph B. This section of code limits the city light department from changing electrical rates in certain circumstances. If those rates change, alter the bills by more than 10%. This provides us with serious restrictions on our ability to write and enforce new rates as we develop and create them. The second section of code I want to amend is city code section 9.91.100 paragraph P, primary service city-owned electrical transformer rate code E-204. This is a non-standard electrical utility rate that the city only has one customer for. This rate isn't advantageous to the city or the customer, and I want to amend the city code to make this a legacy rate that is only available to the existing customer that's currently under that rate, and no other new or existing customers may use that rate. And then for the first section that I previously discussed, I want to remove that section in its entirety. So that's what I have. Do you have any questions?
Council, any questions? Paul? Hearing none, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak to this issue? Virtual audience? Nope, nobody. So council.
Mr. Mayor, I move to conduct second reading and adoption of ordinance 4942, repealing Ellensburg City Code Section 9.30.100B, electric rates, and amending Section 9.91.100P, primary service city-owned transformer E-204.
Second.
We have a motion second to conduct second reading and adoption of ordinance 4942 as presented. Is there any discussion amongst council? Hearing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Who seconded that motion? Okay, David, thank you. Beauchamp,
Yes.
Goodlow,
Yes.
Lowquist,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Palmer,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Elliott.
Yes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington relating to utilities, repealing sections 9.30.100B, electric rates, and amending section 9.91.100P, primary service city-owned transformer E-204 of the Ellensburg City Code.
Thank you. Item 9B, which is resolution 2024-13. This is a resolution discussing the process for city council rules and public comment. There will be public comment in this section. And I believe we have a staff presentation first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Terry Weiner, City Attorney. You have before you Resolution 2024-13, which proposes to amend in part Rules 4 and 7 of the City Council Rules of Procedure. The background for this is that Council has amended the rules twice in the last 6 months. Back in December, when you removed online public comment on non-agenda items from the rules. And then just at your last meeting, there was a discussion about other potential amendments of the rules. Ultimately, council adopted amendment just to align the public comment requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act with our rather align our rules with the Open Public Meetings Act. But discussion and decision on some other rules proposal was deferred until we had the full council seated here as we do tonight. So that is what you have before you. The discussion that occurred at the last meeting involved potential rule changes to reinstate public comment virtually for non-agenda items. That's the first item. And so what I've done is prepared the resolution with all three of the discussion items as proposed amendments. That first proposed amendment to reinstate that public comment for non-agenda items virtually is in Rule 7.2 sub B sub 1. That's on page 163 of your packet. And then the second change would be an additional amendment to that same rule, actually, which would have two parts to it. The first part would require those persons who want to speak virtually on non-agenda items to register at least 24 hours prior to the council meeting. And include in that, the second part would be a description of the topic upon which they wish to speak, much as they obviously do here in person. So it would align the virtual with the in-person comment. And that also is on page 163 of your packet. And then lastly, would be to amend section 4, which is generally the order of business for the council agenda. And that proposed change would move the citizen comment on non-agenda items from its current placement, which is number 7 on the agenda. It's actually in section 4.8 of the rule, but it's number 7 on your agenda packet. And it would move it to follow new business. So it would become the new item 12 be after new business. So it would be, excuse me, number 11, because we're moving, everything would move up. So that's also in your packet at page 158. And so that would move all of the discussion, not just, it would be both virtual and in person on non-agenda items toward the end of the agenda. Those were the proposed amendments. The intent of that through the discussion was try to minimize the opportunity for Zoom bombing incidents such as we had, while at the same time reinstating public comment virtually. I guess I would state that we can't really eliminate Zoom bombing through that, but it may hopefully help if that's the decision of council to move forward with these proposed amendments. That's what I have tonight, and I am here to answer any questions you have.
Before we get into procedures, any questions for the city attorney? By the way, we exercised the Delano clause. That's why we're here.
No one told me about that. I need to go back and read in the ordinances. Can we have that amended and removed? Terry, this question is for you regarding specifically section 4 on moving that section of the public comment period towards the end or right after or following new business. I'm just curious, was an evaluation done on how many other city councils of our size kind of have that as a setup as well? Just kind of curious. I know that some do, but I was just.
Yeah, and that's, I don't have any data on that. I can tell you that I did attend the AWC webinar about a month ago that addressed the issue of Zoom bombing, and it seemed like several cities were either had moved or were moving to that, but I couldn't give you any data on exactly how many.
Okay. The other part of this is for those entities that have allowed the virtual zoom in of public comments, whether or not they have essentially emergency release or cutoff or something like that. And this is more to the intent of protecting people's ability to speak, but immediately cutting off things that should not be spoken about, whether it's derogatory or non-topic items that they submit for. So I'm not, this is more asking, do we have like a cutoff button, or is this going to be waving in the back to?
Well, in the Zoom sense, we do have the ability to both mute and then remove someone from a virtual meeting. It obviously takes a little bit of time to get that done, because generally what happens is the mayor has had the responsibility for indicating to who's ever running the Zoom meeting from IT to cut that person off. So we do have that ability to both mute them and to remove them if necessary from the meeting.
Right. So there's still that. There's still just a slight little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, do you want to take public comment now or in the middle of our conversation? I'm asking just general consensus.
Kind of like it now.
Okay, so the floor is open to testimony from people inside this room here on public comment or council rules and public comment. And same rules apply, 3 minutes, introduce yourself, all that stuff.
I just get reappointed and here I am talking to you. Tommy Cornell, I'm a resident of City of Ellensburg. And I'm speaking tonight on behalf of myself and I think also the DEI Commission. And one of the things that I want to say is this has been an ongoing and a challenging topic, I'm sure. And as I sit and think about it, one of the things that I think about free speech is an amazing thing when we get to say what we want to say. It's also a challenging thing when we're put in positions to sometimes hear things that we don't want to say. So the challenge is great. One of the things that I see both in how I look at the world and how I think looking at this from a DEI perspective, that the council asked the DEI to to take a look at this and bring forth some suggestions moving forward. And one of the things that I'm hearing in the proposals and moving forward is that because of the actions of a few, because of the ill actions of a few that have called in, we're putting burden on those that want to be engaged in city. We're asking them to wait longer at night. We're asking them to step up and do things 24 hours in advance. We're asking them to do things out of the way that they wouldn't normally have to do because of the actions of a few, right? So I think, and one of the things that I think that when we look at this as from the perspective of the DEI Commission, one of the things that is our role, and I think that the priorities of the city, one of the things that we looked at when we started this was looking at city policies, cities regulations, city things like this, and making them as accessible as possible to all people within our community. Asking folks, I think, to step up and do things that they have to do 24 hours in advance or to wait longer in the meeting is, how do I want to say this? To me, I'm losing my train of thought here. again, I think is just, it doesn't feel to me as though as it is an equal access to city government. And I think the second part of this, and when we were looking at the recommendations moving forward, was some of the things that were hit on earlier about giving the council, the mayor, whoever is, the tools, the ability to cut off conversation when it gets to a certain point. The other thing, the last thing that I want to throw out is a little bit of a reminder too, is that I think in some ways, this is a way of taking something that happens to people in our community that we hear. Some people in our community hear this sometimes more than others, sometimes on a regular basis, and we're taking it away so that we don't have to hear it, so that we're in an environment where we don't have to listen to it. But that doesn't mean that people in our community aren't exposed to it as well. And I think in opportunities where we can enlighten or bring forth opportunities, not pleasurably, don't get me wrong, not that it's a good thing, but bringing opportunities where others can hear what others may face. It helps.
We'll make more time available at the end. I'm just going to be kind of sticking to my rules here. We're at 3
Okay,
minutes.
it just helps. It helps us as a better community address the folks that hear things. So thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Yes, sir.
James Payton, Ellensburg resident. I'm curious as to why you would want to move the public discussion to a later part in the agenda. That's my question. If you're able to answer that question, perhaps it'll happen during the debate. But I would say, let's not move it towards the end. Let's keep it up at the beginning. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Hope Amison, resident of Ellensburg, and I'm here as a citizen. I think anything you can do to encourage civic participation is really important. There were a number of students here recently who spoke on the matter of a resolution from the city about a ceasefire. That seems like city business to me, that one aspect wherein it must be city business, it must be within locus of control of the city, is somewhat subjective because they were interrupted when talking about that resolution. So that is discouraging. The other aspect of this is moving it towards the end would maybe be good in terms of forcing people to have more exposure to city government, which is a good thing, I think. But at the same time, it could discourage people from civic participation. I don't really understand why we're trying to discourage people from civic participation. I understand that the Zoom bombs were really traumatizing for people, but I agree with my neighbor Tylene here that the actions of a few should not actually make it harder for those of us who actually want to be engaged in our local community. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Virtually? Okay, so just a suggestion for process here. So we have a resolution. We have a resolution that we can put on the table and then discuss each of the suggested modifications sort of individually, maybe as amendments, or how do you want to do this? Do you want to discuss them up front and then make a motion once we've sort of established what the support is for each of the changes?
If you don't mind, I'm going to recommend we talk about them up front simply because I'm the guy that's playing catch up.
Okay.
That's just me. But if the rest of you want to do something
a reasonable thing?
Yeah.
So
Okay, so let's take these numerically. So on page 144 of the current packet, middle of the page, we have item number 1, which is the question or the potential change that reinstates the ability of the public to provide remote public comment on non-agenda items via Zoom. And this doesn't come with any other restrictions than exist for people in the room. So we'll start with that one.
Okay, again, since I'm playing catch up, I'll go first. So for all of these, I see both perspectives on it. So I'm just going to kind of speak on both perspectives that I see about allowing this remote access for public comment. One, there are a lot of people that unfortunately from a physical standpoint may not be able to be here in the room. People travel, people have business meetings, people are late from work and want to participate in their local government. So being able to provide that access to them makes a lot of sense virtually. On the other hand, we all want to ensure that positive representation of our city is reflected in comments that have to do with city business. The things associated with the Zoom bombing and outside influence are the things that we want to protect our people from and our citizens from, and really, quite frankly, the agenda of our meeting on the things that we can deal with. So I see it from both perspectives. I appreciate the citizen comments that have spoken up to that, but I'm interested in hearing from all of you on that particular one, simply because I'm mulling that one over.
I guess I'll speak next. And I'm very strongly in favor of this one, but obviously there's 4 votes minimum. I guess my sense is that we can speak to the idea that we want to protect people's access to local government, and I think that there are a number of different pathways to have access to the city council and to the meetings. Written, in person. There are exceptions made for people who can't physically be here. So almost all of that is sort of recaptured in the exceptions that exist for that. And so there is an opportunity for people to participate. And a census of the input that we've received in meetings is that it represents, a very, very small portion of the public input that we receive. And so I would like to sort of put that out there and sort of have that stand against the negative impact that has occurred. And it isn't just 2 Zoom bombings. We had what was likely a paid person come in here and do the same thing in a meeting. And we've had, people make each other uncomfortable with the statements. And I get that that's part of the cost of free speech, but that in and of itself, particularly when it's sort of to an extreme, affects people's willingness to come to the meetings and participate. And so, we're not talking about these things in a vacuum, and this goes both ways. And if, our meetings become, significantly influenced, and we suspect very strongly that this was from an outside influence, where we open ourselves back up to that, we actually diminish the willingness of the community to come in here and participate, which is the whole point. I really don't care what somebody in Northern California thinks about Ellensburg, even if it was on something that is city business and would be appropriate. I care about what the people who live here and are affected by our actions. And so I'm fairly strongly in one camp on this. It's not going to cause me to lose sleep or anything, but I think we need to look that this has a positive effect and a negative effect.
Well, I'll state my position on it. I would like to see us reinstate virtual public comments. I think we have tools in place to manage those. We've gotten a lot better with that since we had the Zoom bombing. We have gotten better at managing the public comments here in this room that don't pertain to the business of the city. It's not pleasant. I guess I would like to know do you have any data that supports your statement, Mr. Mayor, that keeps other people from coming to the meetings because it's uncomfortable?
Yes, I personally know people who have contacted me and wouldn't come to a meeting given the fact that those things were occurring at meetings.
Thank you.
More than just one.
I appreciate that.
I can weigh in, I guess, since I actually got this started, our first meeting in January. And I think this is, as the mayor said correctly, I think it doesn't really matter which direction we go here. It's going to be difficult, and there are going to be burdens placed on someone. I think right now, as has been stated, there's a burden placed on those who are unable to participate in person, as small as that may be or as occasional, but it's there nonetheless. And it isn't limited to just folks that might want to antagonize. So without a doubt, if we reinstate remote comments on our agenda, it'll place a burden on the council and on the mayor. Sorry about that. But I think that that is the reality. And the comment that was made earlier about the ability to keep people, I think of it as sort of protecting people from ourselves, that is the community and the world. that's not really the council's job, in my view. We have a duty to maintain decorum in our meetings. The reality is that there are people that openly state these things that are offensive to many, and I think our best approach is to manage it in a way that keeps our process intact. Unrelated to the broader question, but the conversation we had in our last meeting, Delano, was the timing of the public input, and I think that the suggestion that came up for shifting the public comment to the back of the meeting was simply a way to not allow the entire meeting to be sort of sidetracked. And there was some conversation about the idea of allowing in-person comments to occur in its normal time, but reserving some time at the back of the meeting for virtual comments. And I know that's not in the proposed amendments, but that was a way to lessen the inconvenience for the folks in the community that show up at our meetings and don't have to necessarily sit through a 3-hour meeting to talk. So that's something we did talk about. We didn't resolve that entirely, but that was there.
So I think we're focusing on number one for now.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're gonna go one first.
But again, I think it's important to understand that we've got, as it was stated by other council members, we have tools available to us. We have options available. So as binary as it appears to allow or not allow the commentary, I think we're not severely limited.
Any other comments on item number one? So when we go,
I'll just say, I'm still at a toss up between yes or no on this, but I would not be in favor of one without two. I think if we're going to reinstate public comment, we need to require the 24 hours.
okay, let's drift into two.
I would agree with that, as inconvenient as it is for those doing that participation. I think we need some way to manage the process.
Other comments on item number two?
I could support number 2 in place.
Okay, how about 3?
No, thank you.
I know for me, I want to keep the comments right where they are. I don't want to punish our in-person citizens. You know, when it's towards the front of the meeting, you have a good idea of when you're going to get a chance to talk. If you've got a scheduling issue, kids at home, things like that. But then if you're all of a sudden waiting for 3 hours and you're silenced, I think it's a bad idea. I think we keep at a minimum in person right where it's at.
That's a good point, Josh. I would say the counter to that is if you're on the agenda and you're waiting to speak on that item, you automatically get pushed back because of how many comments are made during that point. And that's not to say that I disagree with it, but it's just a consideration.
But in that case, you would know you're speaking anyways.
At the end.
Yeah. But if you don't know where you are in the agenda, you know, I mean, you say at the end and
Sure.
Which is funny. But I think there's a lot of people that just won't sit through 3 hours.
Sure.
Now, if you have a specific item on the agenda that you have a vested interest in,
right,
you stay because that's what you do. But I think if we want to keep the doors open to citizen comment, I lean strongly towards leaving it right where it's at.
I don't disagree with it. It was just more of a devil's advocate for a second.
Well, I think I think that makes a good point, Delano. I mean, the question is, do we make the people who are here for a specific topic wait, or do we make the people who just want to address us for anything that to send an email or, you know, just, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. I was going to say a similar thing. I don't disagree, but just a clarification, as it is proposed, I'm not saying I support it entirely, but the idea of moving the comment to the end of the agenda doesn't mean that the people don't know where they would speak. It would be on the agenda. It would just be either in its current location or it would be behind an item later. So people would know. I'm not saying it isn't still an inconvenience, but
Yeah, so I guess the thing that I see in this, and just kind of speak on both sides of it. On a strict adherence to the agenda, in my short tenure here, the longest that any of our standard agendas have gone is when we have a presentation that happens during the agenda where we're having comments and things like that. Beyond that, it would be a pretty straightforward agenda. We're probably out of here by 8:30-ish or something like that. But then we have our passionate topics that will take us to 11:30, and we'll have to ask Heidi for an extension on our time. Right, that might happen. There's a couple topics out there. So there's some pros and cons to either side of this that I could see. I strongly love seeing when citizens are here to make comments on city issues, because I think that's really important. But it is interesting that where it's currently placed as it is, after citizens' comments are done, everybody leaves, and then the agenda items get talked through. And then you might hear citizens' comments and complaints. I can't believe they did that. What happened? I was like, well, you walked out the door right after the citizen comment period. So there's a little bit of a carrot for people to keep it around, to be able to listen to the whole agenda. Again, not saying one or the other is correct, just playing devil's advocate so that everybody could think about those perspectives.
I guess to throw an additional 2 cents into the hat, we're addressing this because of Zoom bombers. We've got citizens that are very used to knowing when they're going to have a chance to talk. Do we, in theory or practice, punish our in-person citizens by making them wait due to out-of-state Zoom bombers? Yeah, I think it could be seen like that. And we have a very passionate group that come in on all different topics.
Yep. In which case, kind of my early leanings is that we negate it all. The remote in, that negates number 2, and we would keep it as is. And that's simply because our service to the community is what they know today. And we want to ensure that they don't get confused on that and they can continue on with that. So that's just kind of a stronger inkling that I have on this topic, is that it's better serves our citizens as they know the processes today.
I guess the last thing I would say, I'll say my final
I was
piece
going
on
to go
this.
to the left side of
It's
the.
okay. I mean, it won't take long.
Like a sausage
It
fest.
won't take long. It won't take long.
Right.
So as discussed, I would, my support would be for number 1, number 2, and I could leave number 3 behind.
Okay, so here we go. So I am in favor of just leaving it the way it is, because the people that are going to Zoom bomb, so to speak, they're going to find a way to do it no matter what we put in place. So we have to figure out how to control that. So again, punishing, like Tylene said, just for the few times that may happen, it may get worse as we, go through this year with, elections coming up and all of that. So, but I think that just leaving it how it is for our citizens that are here, that we see at our meetings, is probably, that's where I'm leaning towards, and keeping things and reinstating the Zoom comments. And I don't know that is that number 1? Yeah, because, and I don't know about the 24 hours, because they can put whatever they want on 24 hours and then they're going to say whatever they want when they call in. So, I mean, it makes another step for them, to have to do it, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think we just reinstate it and leave everything else the same. That's my words.
No, I'm pretty much with Sarah on that.
Okay. Well, initially I heard something a little bit different, that 1 didn't happen, we would do 2, but so I don't know how to vote on this.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird one. It's almost like you have to do one.
Make a motion first.
You probably have to do one of them at a time, because it kind of tells us what's going to happen with the rest of them, to be quite honest.
Okay.
That first one.
And what I understood is some of the members, the sequence mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it matters, but.
Okay, somebody make a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we reinstate the ability of the public to provide remote public comments on non-agenda items.
So why don't you move resolution 2024 adopting the first recommendation that would reinstate and not the other 2?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, but from a parliamentary standpoint, you have a proposed resolution in front of you, so the motion would have to be to adopt the resolution, and then somebody can propose amendments afterwards.
Okay, which is kind of where I was going, but I didn't do it very well, apparently.
Okay.
So somebody has to make a motion for the resolution.
Okay. Go ahead, Alana.
No, I
I
won't.
think you're ready to go.
Oh, well, no, I'm not gonna.
Okay, so I will move adoption of resolution 2024-13 for discussion.
I need a second.
Second.
So we have a motion second to approve resolution 2024-13. And so rules 7 and 4 of the council procedures, what does that cover right now? Is that covered under the all three of those, or what's proposed?
What's proposed
What's
under Rule
written?
7 are the two changes to reinstate. First one is to reinstate public comment virtually.
Okay.
And then the second one under Rule 7.2 is to require the 24-hour notice and description of the topic to be spoken about.
So 1 and 2 are included in the resolution that we just decided to talk about.
And 3.
And 3.
No.
They're all listed here on
Is it
page
3 in there?
45.
They're all three part of the resolution.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about 2 a second ago.
Okay,
Okay.
you asked me about Rule 7.2, and those two changes are in there. And then the third
And-
change is to Rule 4.
Okay. Okay. So what we just talked about includes all 3 changes. So now we need an amendment if that's not what you want to vote on.
I will move that we not, that we strike the amendment to section 4 from the resolution.
I need a second.
Second.
So we have a motion second to strike, this would be item number 3 on page 144, which revises Rule 4, would move citizen comment to the backside of the meeting agenda. So that's what we're talking about now, not the resolution, just that amendment to this resolution.
So striking it means we keep it where it is.
Correct. Stays where it's at.
Striking the amendment.
Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 2 will vote aye, opposed.
Nay.
Okay, that still passes. So.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move, I'd like to suggest an amendment to section, to remove section number 2 of the resolution that requires people who want to make a virtual public comment to register at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting.
Didn't we just vote on that?
Nope. Nope, this is different.
Okay, all right.
This is number 2.
Okay.
I need a second.
So that's just on the 24-hour?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion second that to eliminate the amendment that is to section 7.2B1, which would require 24-hour notice for virtual things. So that's what we're talking about. Any
And a
discussion?
description of the topic.
And a description of the topic. Well, everybody has to do a description of the topic when they introduce
This would
themselves.
be when they register.
They don't have to register, right?
If
Right now, they don't.
If we eliminate this,
if
they
you
won't have to
eliminate
register.
the
They'll
24
still
hours.
have to tell us what their topic is,
Have to
just like everybody else. does.
verbally,
verbally when
But
they.
everybody
it's not
else.
24 hours in advance.
Right. I just want to be clear that you could still require that at the time they register, whenever it is.
Okay. But we're not requiring them to register if we take this away.
Right.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. Any further discussion on that amendment?
I oppose the amendment. I think that while I appreciate Tylene's, greater access, I think that we need something in place to deter the outside agitators, and that this doesn't seem like a particularly onerous request for someone from the city who wants to come and speak. I mean, if they know they're going to be out of town, they can Zoom in, but they can register 24 hours in advance to say something.
Any further discussion on that amendment? Okay, so the vote will be, if you vote affirmatively, it takes out item number 2, which is the advance notice and registration for online comment on non-agenda items. So all those in favor of that, I'm going to go one by one because I think this is going to be a split vote. So
I'm sorry. I want to make sure I understood that.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to be first.
So in favor of is to strike it or to keep it
Strike it
as written?
as written.
Okay.
Go away. And there won't be any rules for online that are any different than in person.
Okay.
So no keeps that.
No keeps it.
No keeps
As it's-
that suggestion in the rules.
Okay. All right.
I want a roll call.
Oh,
Thank you.
shoot, wait, what am I?
Vote yes for the thing you seconded.
Okay,
You vote no, you're going against what you seconded.
I got you. So thanks for breaking it down to second grade for me.
Go for it.
So everybody understands.
I think we do.
Beauchamp,
Yes.
Goodlow,
Yes.
Lilquist.
No.
Miller,
Nay.
Palmer,
No.
Thompson,
No.
Elliott.
No. Okay, so that provision stays in. We're moving on to, actually, I just need a motion or we. Does anybody
We already have, so
want to do anything with 1?
In terms of an amendment? Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I already lost it.
so on the main motion, a yes vote.
So now we're to the resolution. The only suggested change is item number 2 on page 144. So if you vote yes, you are voting for the resolution, which is the entire council rules in public comment, including the registration 24-hour topic of speech. That's what you're voting yes for if you vote yes. If you vote no, you're voting for the entire packet goes away and we're back to our original rules.
Right.
Whatever's in place today.
And number 3 goes away with a yes vote.
3 is already
It's
off the
already
table.
gone.
We've already amended it.
Yeah.
It's not on the table.
Yeah.
Roll call again, please.
Okay.
Could reverse it.
Yeah.
You do backwards counting?
Oh, shoot. You, okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Beauchamp,
Yes.
Goodlow,
Yes.
Lilquist,
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Palmer,
No.
Thompson,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have some new rules. We added number 2. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item 9C, which is in our updated agenda as page 177. This is a resolution 2024-14, which would have us talk a little bit about our strategic vision for 2024 to 2029.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. Heidi Barron, Cernaway City Manager. You have before you a resolution that contains your strategic vision that was developed in your retreat for this year. And as a reminder, the strategic vision represents the most important issues facing the city of Ellensburg and establishes precedents for expenditure of staff and other city resources. It includes priorities, milestones, and measures of achievement for the executive staff and city council to use in the coming years. This is something we revisit on a regular basis, and this is your vision that you came together and developed. We did a little bit of wordsmithing and I apologize, we moved back to 5 priorities. These major, what we call those pillars, ended as sustainable economic development, infrastructure and energy, safety, civic engagement and cultural inclusion, affordable housing and living, and dedicated parks and recreation resources. And again, this is what we use as sort of the roadmap for the next few years as we allocate resources. So the recommendation is before you to adopt this resolution, and I stand here to answer questions and help support that.
Questions of staff first? Council? Okay, go ahead.
I was going to just say thank you for the wordsmithing.
Yeah, you made us sound smart. Focused. Even though our attorney doesn't agree. Okay, is there anybody in the audience here who wishes to speak? If you wanted to look at the strategic vision, It's detailed on page 179 to 182 in the packet. Big onrush. How about online? Nope. Okay, we have resolution 2024-14. Need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move adoption of resolution 2024-14, Ellensburg City Council Strategic Vision 2024-2029.
Second.
Motion second to move resolution 2024-14. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Our new 9D is a public hearing, which is quasi judicial on Rainier Taxi and Courier application. And I don't have a whole new script to read. Just got to find it. Okay, this is different than some of our other quasi judicial in that this is an open public record hearing, which will be detailed in my instructions. So the purpose of this open record quasi judicial hearing is for the city council to consider the pertinent facts, applicable law, and to make a final decision on whether to approve the application from Blake Collins to operate a taxi cab service to be known as Rainier Taxi and Courier, and direct the city clerk to issue the appropriate certification. I ask for your cooperation in the following procedure. This is an open record hearing. Everyone will be given an opportunity to be heard. When you are invited to speak, begin by stating your name, address, indicate whether you're speaking for yourself individually or as a spokesperson for a certain group or both. Speak slowly and clearly. One person will be allowed to speak at a time. Any questions of the staff are to be directed through the council. The city clerk will make a recording of the proceedings. I will first recognize requests to testify from anyone attending this hearing in person, followed by any persons attending via Zoom. If you wish to participate via Zoom, raise your virtual hand on the Zoom meeting, press *9. And if you're connected by telephone, wait until I have recognized your request and you have been unmuted. City Council seeks to conduct the hearing in a manner that is fair and unbiased in both appearance and fact. Therefore, I would ask the council members the following question. Question 1, will any council member obtain any financial benefit or suffer financial loss due to the outcome of this hearing?
No.
I too answer no. Does any council member believe he or she cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner?
No.
I too will say no. Page 2 of 6. Has any council member engaged in communication with opponents or proponents regarding the issue outside of public hearing process?
No.
I too will answer no. So it negates the back half of that question. Will any council member be employed by the applicant for which the potential employment may result in a decision, or which a potential employment may result from this decision?
No.
I too will answer no. Just got that one messed up. Is any council member a member of, involved in such associations or organizations, whether formal or informal, which takes a position on this application?
No.
I too will say no. Is any council members family or any person which they may have a social relationship, an advocate or witness that will provide oral or written testimony in the argument of this matter?
No.
I too will answer no. Is there anyone present who objects to my participation or any council member's participation in these proceedings on the appearance of fairness? No in the audience. Anybody online? Okay. So before we hear from the audience, is there a staff report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, Beth Leader, City Clerk. Blake Collins, owner of 509 Community Services LLC, has submitted a complete application for a taxi cab service to be known as Rainier Taxi and Courier. Per chapter 6.46 of the Ellensburg City Code, council can direct the city clerk to issue a certificate of public convenience and necessity if two criteria have been met. Number 1 is further taxi cab service in the city required by the public convenience and necessity, and is the applicant fit, willing, and able to perform such public transportation and to conform to the provisions of this chapter, which are 6.46 of the Ellensburg City Code. No public comment has been received electronically for or against the issuance of the certificate. If council determines that the applicant should be issued a certificate, direction can be provided by the motion. Mr. Collins is present to answer any questions by council, and I am also available for questions if you have such.
Question. Oh. No, I think we come back and talk to you.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Does the applicant or applicant's representative have comments they would like to make at this time? You don't have to, but you can. Okay. Okay, the floor is now open to testimony from the public. Each person will have an opportunity to address council for initial period and get this for 5 minutes, not 3. If more time is needed, it will be made available after everybody has had an opportunity to speak. You're welcome to approach. Just introduce yourself. Name, city, county, speaking for yourself, group, other.
Well, for those of you that don't know me, which I think I have met or talked with every single one of you besides maybe Mr. Miller, but I'm Logan Denlinger, Kittitas County resident, and I just wanted to speak up in support of Blake Collins and his taxi cab service. It's something that's needed in Ellensburg. We have a few options, not many, and having more options for reliable transportation in Ellensburg and surrounding areas is a really good thing to have, and a really good thing to advertise for people that are coming here for events and things like that, the rodeo, etc. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Virtually? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, how do I introduce myself again? I've never
Just
done that.
name, are you a city resident, county resident, or other? And obviously you're speaking to this matter, so.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Charles Johnson. I'm a city resident. I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I think this would be great. I'm also a student at Central Washington University, and over half of our students don't have cars or a way of getting around. And I know something that I also am part of student government there. And so something we've been working with the Ellensburg Downtown Association with is like trying to get students more involved. And I think that this would definitely help with that, kind of bridging that gap between the university and the community and getting students around more. We have, similar to what that gentleman was saying, we have some options in town already, but I think the more options, the better. And this would definitely do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Anybody virtually? Okay. Does staff have anything to add? She's indicating no. Does the applicant have anything to add? Indicating no. So council, do you have any questions of the applicant, staff, or public?
I do.
Yes,
So,
go ahead. Who are you addressing first?
I think it might be for Blake. I'm not positive. So the applicant. So it says that if approved, then the applicant would still require his taxi cab license as well. So would that encompass like your insurance and everything that you need to operate said business? You have to have all of that for your license?
So I need to be, this is Blake, representing 509 Community Services and Rainier. I need to get my addendum passed, which is what I come before you, is to get the taxi license in Washington State. You have to have an addendum from the state regulatory agency. In that case, it's the office licensing. So then I can go forward from that. Yes, then the insurance is, then I have all of that.
Because that's not a city issue. I mean, that falls on his business license and taxi license, correct? That he does all of that?
That's a good answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the addendum for hire is part of the city business license. And encompassing the state. So when I sign the addendum, I will send it to Blake to submit with he's already applied for a business license. And then they consider that when they are reviewing his business license. And then it's sent to me for approval.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, staff, applicant?
Yeah, two. So is there a target time in which you're looking to be operational?
We're ready to go. I have staff, vehicles, insurances, rate card was sent to you guys. We're just waiting for final approval and we're ready to go because ideally, Red Hot Chili Peppers concert's on May 31st. I'd love to be able to transport people safely to the gorge back to our downtown core. On a later note, graduation's 4 weeks away.
Last question I got is, do you know the type of vehicles that you're going to employ? Just for EVs?
Currently, I have a 22 Chrysler Pacifica which is a minivan, and then a 21 Chrysler Voyager, both minivans. purchase liquid.
Any other questions? Okay, before closing the public hearing, I wish to advise everyone present that the council reserves the right to reopen this hearing for additional questions or additional comments later tonight or at a continued hearing if needed. The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Council may begin its discussion and deliberation of this matter, and the action we're being asked to take is an approval of the application and issuance of certificate. I need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that I don't know what I should move, that we issue
Approve the application and issue a
approve
certificate.
approve the application and issue a certificate.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to approve the application for Rainier Tax and Courier and issue the appropriate certificate. Is there any discussion?
I was just going to add that as is stated in our staff report, the metric that we use to determine capacity, if you will, is population driven, and approving this application would fall well within those limit or those metrics. So I think in terms of considering whether the existing transportation system is adequate, I think that speaks to that. So just want to make that clear.
Any other further discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I was doing a ride along on Saturday night and there was one taxi cab that was functioning at the time and the bars were packed. So to me, it's a straight up public safety issue. We want to make sure people get home. And obviously, anytime we can expand transportation and access in the city day or night, I think it's a positive. So good luck.
Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed. That motion passes. Thank you. Congratulations. We have no unfinished business or new business. We move on to item 12A, page 183, manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Heidi Baron Cernaway, City Manager. Several items of interest in the manager's report. I won't go through them all. There are a couple actions I would request from council tonight. Number one would be, and just a reminder that this Wednesday, May 22nd, we are hosting, this is the Ad Hoc Committee on Homelessness is hosting an educational open house at Hal Holmes. We do have a virtual option, so folks can attend virtually as well. This will be primarily a presentation about the issue, the gaps in services to homelessness, and the trends we've seen over time, and the reason we've been exploring a sleep center and then the potential sites we're looking at. We're going to actually offer a Q&A opportunity, so we'll have people write on cards to provide us their questions, and we'll have the group, the ad hoc committee, respond to answers. And then we'll also have opportunities for folks to weigh in. We'll package all of that information, all the comments that we receive, and the Q&A opportunities, and we'll deliver that to you at your joint meeting with the county commissioners on June 13th. So one of the things I need to know is we did expand the ad hoc committee, and so we actually do have 3 council members that have been serving on just recently on the ad hoc committee. So Councilmember Lilquist has been the chair, Councilmember Goodlow and Councilmember Palmer joined us for the site review process on April 19th. So we would welcome folks if you all want to attend. Sometimes the dynamics of an open house does change if we have a quorum of council there. But we certainly can do a public notice if we will have a quorum. So what I need from this group is to know how many folks would be there, to know if we do actually need to notice the meeting.
Raise your hand if you're going to show up.
I would be interested in attending as an observer, not a participant, but I don't want to change the dynamic. So
Raise your hand again. Let's see how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a meeting if you go.
Well,
So-
but I'm saying if there's some concern, it would change the dynamic in a negative way, I would abstain and be satisfied with the briefing. I just put that out there.
And there is an option or a virtual option too, so folks can, but again, we can notice it. It really is.
Sounds like
it's-
you should notice it.
So.
Yes,
but-
we will notice it.
Okay,
So,
even a virtual participation would be a quorum, so.
I think it's important for all of us to hear the presentation. But I don't think it matters whether if you're there in person versus online, except that we will have the sites displayed, and you won't get a good any sense of the conversations going on around the site specific locations if you're doing it virtually. So
we will do that notice. And if you have any questions, feel free to follow up with me on any logistics. So one item, it's item number 6 on the manager's report, and I would request that we reschedule the July 1st study session to July 15th at 6 p.m. We have the folks that did the study on well-being in Central Washington, and they're putting together a report, and we'd like to have them present that for that specific study session. So I ask for a motion and action on that item.
Can I ask, we had talked about making that a joint meeting with the planning commission. Does that have to, do we have to include that in a motion?
You certainly can.
Okay. Well, I'll move to reschedule the study session from July 1st to July 15th and invite the planning commission to join us on July 15th.
Second.
We have a motion second to reschedule planning session scheduled for July 1 to July 15th to talk about Intermountain West Transformation Network and community resilience, including inviting the planning commission. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye opposed. That motion passes.
Okay, one more action item I would request, and that is you have a letter of support for the Kittitas County Historical Museum for their application to the Heritage Capital Projects Fund. And would request permission for the mayor's signature on this letter of support.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second to authorize mayor's signature on Kittitas County Historical Museum renovation and structural improvements project, letter of support. Any discussion?
It's a good project.
That says it all. All those in favor?
Aye.
I too will vote aye opposed. It's signed.
Thank you. And then one last thing, and that is we have been, let's see here, I believe at your June 3rd meeting, we have invited the folks from WashDOT to give an update on the I-90 Vantage Bridge project. That's going to have some major impacts. And so we'll get some firsthand information about that. And that should be at your next meeting.
This might be something you don't actually want to hear it.
Wonderful. And that's all I have for this evening. Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to council member reports, and we were going to do something really different this time. So Councilmember Lano, you're going first.
Mixing it up.
That'll teach me to go on vacation. Well, you already got the comments regarding I-90, so thank you for that. Appreciate that one. I don't have any update from the Law and Justice Committee because where did Chief Wade go?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I went there and there was no one else there, so it wasn't me. All right. And then the third one is I don't have an update for that one, which is the county waste.
Solid waste.
Solid waste. So no additional comments.
Thank you. Nancy G.
Yes. So we had the DEI commission meeting this month and the utility advisory committee meeting. Had a couple of meetings with the Association of Washington Cities, some involvements that I have there. I had coffee with council on Saturday, which was a lot of fun and a good turnout. And I attended the habitat dedication for Stewart Meadows. I'm excited about that project because some of us were there when they broke ground, and it was fun.
Josh Thompson.
Yeah, Parks was canceled this last week. But like I said earlier, on Saturday, I did a ride along with EPD. I was out from 8 p.m. till 4 a.m. And every time I'm out there with them, the appreciation for what they do just grows, going from a red light stop 1 second to a combative individual 90 seconds later. It's just amazing what you see every time. And I always learn something about the city. I think it's just such a valuable resource. It's something that I'm going to continue to do probably on a quarterly basis, and just kind of bounce between shifts, get to know our officers, and just get to see our city from a different angle. But we do have some excellent officers. I mean, we're really blessed for what we have.
Echo those sentiments. Sarah.
Okay, so I had a terribly busy week last week, so unfortunately I missed the KitCom meeting, but we did have a special session and got some stuff handled. Brian, our interim director, is amazing. Just put that out there. Library, everything's going smoothly. I did make that meeting. Lodging and tax did not have a meeting this month. It's just every other month right now. Parks, like Josh said, was canceled. And then the development disabilities, I had tech problems. Go figure. I couldn't get into the meeting virtually. And then I need to ask if there's I am the rare duck up here that I work nights. So it's hard for me to make a 5:30 p.m. meeting. So I don't know if anybody is willing to take over the development, because even going in virtually 5:30 is when I'm the busiest at work. And so I hate to do a disservice to that commission. So if anybody is willing to take that on, it is on the second Tuesday of the month at 5:30 over at the courthouse building.
Which group is that?
It's the developmental disabilities, and they're doing really well right now. They've got some great things happening, so I feel like it needs better representation from the council than I can give them.
I'm the backup if nobody else is available.
Unfortunately, I'm in the Affordable Housing Commission, which I completely forgot to talk about. So I'll circle back in a second.
I'll take it. Put my name on it. Send me a reminder though.
Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Okay, so Arts Commission, doing good work, continuing on. Planning Commission meeting was primarily a staff briefing on the new ADU rules that came down from Olympia. So continuing to see work in that, we will in the months to come. And then I also attended the Stewart Meadows dedication, and it was other than the wind, and the wind was present. It was a great event. Really impressed with the community effort on this. This is just a phenomenal success. And to see our elected representatives from the House and Senate appear in support and having played a hand in securing funding for portions of that, I think was really nice. I think it's always great when we can show our legislators that we actually can accomplish things in our community, and they're important enough that they take part of their Saturday and spend it with us, because I know they have other things to do. But that was great. And as Nancy said, yes, this was a project that was a long time coming. Some of us were involved in the first iteration when the property was first identified for affordable housing, and we entertained the community land trust idea for a while, and we never lost sight of the goal. The vehicle changed over time, but I was really impressed. I walked through one of the houses, and I met several of the families. It's just a great project, and it's exciting to see that foundations have been laid for the next group of houses right behind it. So, but again, it was said many times over during the presentation that the level of community support for this project was really remarkable. I mean, we're talking about, the Rotary and what they do, and we talk about companies like Knudsen supplying materials and countless others. I just think the community should really be proud of this effort. So Thank you to everyone who's involved. And then this week I'm doing PTAC and finance. And then like I said, I'm going to try to be a fly on the wall in the sleep center conversation. That's all I got.
Nancy L.
I also attended Stuart Meadows and I just, I agree with all that's been said and the, what impressed me was the community that they have built because they have spent all that time together building the homes, which Habitat used to do it one house at a time. And I think that this is a really good model. But what I wanted to say was we need to be building 300 new homes a year in this community to meet demand. And a lot of those should be affordable. And we got 6 done and it took a Herculean effort of 3 years or something. So we're not going to get where we need to be unless something changes. So I attended Coffee with Council, but was distracted by the Bike to Market Day event.
We got distracted by that.
We gave away 20 bikes, at least 68 bike bills, and $1,000 worth of helmets. I'm not sure how many helmets that was. My estimate was about 70 people rode their bikes to the market. So it was a fun day, though the ride to Kittitas did not attract very many people again. So
Going to Kittitas was probably pretty easy.
well, yeah, right. Yeah. It was a windy day, which was not a great day for biking. So but the Go by Bike speakers, we had about 25 there. There's a few more bike events coming up. The 21st, I guess it's Thursday, is Bike to Campus Day. June 18th is the Bike Rodeo, which is this kids skills training that Evergreen Mountain Biking is putting on in conjunction with Touch a Truck. And if you have kids and you haven't been to Touch a Truck, you need to go because it's pretty cool. You get to climb all over helicopters and I don't know, big trucks. Attended the UAC meeting, the Environmental Commission meeting, and I went up to Cle Elum for the Checkerboard Partnerships, the Cle Elum Ridge project had a roundtable event to celebrate receiving $15.3 million from the federal government to complete the purchase of 9,700 acres. And that will be owned by DNR and managed as a community forest. So the community will have a voice in how that forest is managed. And it meets the city of Cle Elum and Roslyn's vision for their communities, and will they'll be doing vegetation management for fire on that forest to protect those communities as well. So, and I think it's a good project. So I'm excited to be moving forward with that. And that's all I have.
Delano, go back.
Affordable Housing Commission, I apologize for that. We had proposals for the Pine and First Avenue property. So we had 2 great proposals. The committee decided to push up a recommendation, which we'll see soon enough, for a 35 unit development using, I can't remember, intensive design build or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's an innovative process that they'd be looking at. It's essentially meant to fast track the production of more affordable housings in our community, which we all know is a desperate need. So that was it. And also thank you for your support at the Habitat event. So.
Centrifuge meeting. So we're looking like we're headed into a fusion between Centrifuge and the chamber, with the chamber sort of being sort of the entity that the Centrifuge absorbs into. And it's not without, you know, a little bit of trepidation, but it's moving forward very constructively. So that's working out really well. I attended the County Planning Commission meeting for no reason other than apparently I didn't have anything to do on a Tuesday night. But they were talking about urban growth areas, and where are we at in that process? That's my question. When do we next look at capacity, and where should we be looking at either consolidating or expanding urban growth areas, and how does that work?
We'll do that as part of our comprehensive plan
26
update.
one, the
But
big one.
we've been talking about doing an outside analysis on that as well with the county.
Okay, they know it's coming, and okay, good. And then a couple of just from my other job related. So Councilmember Thompson drove by when things were calmed down. But we spent probably about 90 minutes trying to put out a relatively small house fire in 40-mile-an-hour winds on Idaho Street Saturday night. And it was touch and go for a little while. It should have been a lot faster. But I couldn't help but think that had that fire occurred 3 or 4 houses to the north, I'd have been figuring out which 3 houses needed to burn down and which 5 I was going to save. I mean, that's how impactful wind is. And obviously this community's had a very stark example of what wind does to fire. But I would not have been able to stop spread from house to house initially. So just sort of pay attention to that. Keep arborvitae out of the community. There's my prejudice thing, I'm gonna say. Keep them out. And then we had a really positive outcome. We had a 2-year-old find a creek in Kittitas and came within about 30 seconds of drowning. She was airlifted to Children's, and I should make a full recovery, but things had to happen perfectly for that to be the outcome. So just creeks and rivers are cold and high, and we get 3 to 4 drownings a year in this community. And I'm one telling one parent, you know, their kid's dead from being done. So anyway, just please pay attention to that. So otherwise we're adjourned.
Mm-hmm.